So it's Sunday evening, and we need to get the power glide pulled out of the Falcon so we can get it up to Dion Vickers Monday. So I had Kenny come over and help me pull the transmission out of the Falcon while Billy and Tommy were editing over at Billy's house. Once we had the transmission out of the Falcon, I got out some brake cleaner and started cleaning the transmission up, getting it ready to take to Dion. Just as I was finishing up cleaning the transmission, Billy showed up and he wanted to set a dial indicator up to check the thrust on the crank. What do you think here, Junior?
Well, take the transmission to Dion and see if there's anything wrong internally. We checked the thrust clearance. It's got 11 thousandths, which Mike, the engine builder, didn't seem too concerned with. He said just to check it.
Don't let it get any worse.
Yeah, just check it every so often. I'm probably going to check it every week and just make sure it doesn't get any worse than 11 thousandths. And you know, if it doesn't get any worse, then we'll keep running it. If it does, then we'll put thrust bearing in it. We can get the pan off without even pulling the engine out of it, so it's not too big of a deal. You can slide a thrust bearing in there with the crank in it and everything, so I'm not too worried about it. See what Dion finds. If nothing's wrong, we'll put it right back together. We'll change the stator and the converter. We'll go from there.
And Chris said it does not have any restrictors in the dump valve, so
yeah, we're gonna make sure that's changed.
Yeah, we're gonna need to get with Pete from Hughes and see what we need there. But
where the jets go, they go right out of the solenoid? Or
no, they go in the, I think they go in the pan fittings.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think they go right in the pan fittings.
Just slows the flow of it going out.
Yeah, it's just like a jet. We can change them in New Jersey.
It's probably right here and right here.
Yeah. What you doing there, squirrely?
Well, when the storm came yesterday, we had to throw everything in totes in a big hurry.
Right.
And then people came to the back of the trailer and they're like, oh, before we leave, can we get this or that? Which, that was fine, except it was all buried in the bottom of the tubs and we were yanking and throwing shirts everywhere.
So the short story is your stuff's all messed up.
Yeah. So I'm refolding it and recounting it so I know how much I need to reorder for next weekend.
Gotcha. What you doing there,
You're going to say that was
scrappers?
an example of me saying too much. Like, not spitting it out quick enough.
Would I ever do that?
Yes. Absolutely.
What you doing there, scrappers?
You're the perfect one to always say, short story. Short story.
How about
Get
Reader's
to the point.
Reader's Digest version?
Reader's Digest version. That's your other favorite. Meanwhile, you can use as many words as you want to talk all day long, but the rest of us need to keep it snappy.
When do I talk all day long?
That's all you do. Oh my gosh.
I don't rattle like a can with a rock in it.
The rattling. Yes, I rattle.
Let's give him an example.
Whatever.
Here's the question my wife has. What time should I start dinner? But what question does she ask? We'll start with, so what's going on tonight? Well, what time do you think that'll be over? What other questions would you ask to get that answer? Instead of just saying, what time should I have dinner ready? We go through question limbo. So after I got on Vicky's nerves, we came back out to the shop after dinner, and Billy had the slicks pulled off the Falcon. You have to unhook the shocks and unhook the anti-roll bar and drop the rear end down as far as it'll go to get the rear wheels and tires off. And even at that, you have to deflate the tires. Anyway, after he got the wheels and tires off, he started checking pinion angle, driveline angle, and started taking measurements off the triangulated forelink to see why the car tends to want to push to the left and the burnout, and why it wants to try and drive to the left going down the track. I'm really proud of Billy and how serious he's taken his racing lately, and I know he wants to see his brother do well. After going over all the suspension very carefully and taking measurements, Billy decided he wanted to make some minor adjustments to the rear suspension. Meanwhile, the dogs were doing their usual thing, and Vicky was still working on the other side of the shop. The merchandise is getting to be almost a full-time job for two people to keep up with shipping, receiving, and keeping everything stocked up. Monday morning, we packed up the transmission out of the Falcon into the back of the Suburban, and we hit the road for the 2-hour drive to Alliance, Ohio, to go see Dion Vickers at Vickers Performance Transmissions. Billy found Dion back in the assembly room, in the air conditioning. I can't blame him. The assembly room is where he keeps all the parts, and he does all his final assembly work. After we located Dion, I went looking for Philo, the shop cat. I found him sleeping on the job, on the workbench out in the shop. Old Philo loves attention. Once you start petting him, you can't stop. Billy and Dion unloaded the Power Glide out of the back of the Suburban and carried it into the shop to start checking everything out. Billy brought the laptop into the assembly room and showed Dion all the data logs on the transmission for the last 1.5 years. And if you go back through the data logs, you can actually see where the line pressure started to drop off almost 1 year ago. So Dion's going to go ahead and take this Power Glide apart and check it out. Meanwhile, we hit the road, headed to our next destination, Summit Racing Equipment in Talmadge, Ohio. Summit is only about 35 minutes away from Dion's shop, and Billy wanted to stop up here and check out the showroom and pick up a couple of things while we were in town. The showroom at Summit is pretty impressive. They have 2 turntables up there, and right now they've got a Studebaker on each one of them. So what all did you get in Summit?
I got a valve adjustment tool for the Jessel shaft rockers.
Nice.
And I got a digital angle finder.
Sweet.
Help us set up suspension and stuff.
Nice.
So figured while we were up here, get that stuff rather than wait and have to order it and pay for shipping.
Right.
So got that stuff. Now we're gonna head to get some dinner.
All right, everybody. So back out here in the shop for a few minutes before bedtime tonight. Billy and I put in a lot of miles today, traveling around, and we're both pretty well wore out. He went ahead and went home to go to bed and get some sleep. I think we were both up till 4 o'clock in the morning last night editing. So we're both pretty well tuckered out. We did stop and had dinner tonight with one of the guys from Stripper Glitter, and pretty excited to hear some of the things that they've got going on. They just landed a distributor in Sweden today. So they're pretty excited about that. That's pretty cool. I think they may be getting ready for the Stockholm Open over there. So I believe they mentioned Street Racing Channel when they made the order or something, and those guys are pretty excited about the way things are going for them and the Stripper Glitter traction compound stuff. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. In other news, Tommy went to Jegs today and got a new pair of slicks while we were up at Dion's. So the Falcon will have a brand new set of Hoosiers on it for this weekend. Speaking of this weekend, we will be in West Salem, Ohio, I think is the name of the town. Dragway 42 for the Rewind 2. It's an event put on by D-Team Racing and Stripper Glitter Traction Compound. And we'll be racing at Dragway 42, I believe, from the finish line in the shutdown. So we'll start at the finish line and race in the shutdown on blacktop. Kind of the same thing we were doing at Trails this last weekend, but I think 42 is a lot better surface than what Trails is. So we're hoping that Dion can get the Power Glide apart, check it out, and get it back together for us in a day or so that we can go back up there and get it put back in the Falcon. If that's not the case, if Dion can't get the transmission done in time, we also have Tommy's brand new Power Glide sitting over here in the shop. So if we have to go that route, we can put Tommy's Power Glide in the Falcon and we'll have it ready for the weekend one way or the other. The only difference is Tommy's transmission is a 180 low gear set, and the transmission that came out of the Falcon's a 159. So not a big difference, but it might be interesting to see how the 180 low gear set does with the converter out of the Falcon. Probably leave the stator alone, but I'm not sure. We'll have to work on that tomorrow. We'll decide what we're going to do with that tomorrow. Also, I think tomorrow we're going to go to Jegs and possibly pick up a steering wheel for the Falcon. The Falcon steering wheel is really cool. I love it. However, with the rack and pinion steering that's in this car, the large steering wheel makes it difficult to control the car if it gets out of whack. You have to really turn that steering wheel a lot to turn the rack fast enough to correct it. And if it was up to me and we weren't worried about that, we would probably leave the stock steering wheel in the car. But given the fact that we're racing this thing and the type of racing we're doing is kind of important to have quick reaction, I think we're going to go ahead and put a smaller steering wheel on it that we can go ahead and mount the buttons to, and probably even maybe a quick disconnect too, because it's tight getting in that car with a roll cage right there next to the steering column. So that's on the agenda for tomorrow, and I believe there was some boxes delivered today from Forced Inductions. So we'll open those tomorrow when Tommy and Billy are here. but I believe Tommy's brand new turbos for the S10 are here, so we can take those down to AJ and he can get started building the cold side for Tommy's S10. So there's a lot of really good stuff coming up the next few days. Once again, we're going to be at Dragway 42 this weekend for the Rewind race. Come see us. It's going to be a good time, and the weather looks amazing. See you Saturday.